Now this is the story, all about how Hollywood's full of hacks and talentless clowns, and I like to rant a minute, so sit right there. I'll tell you about this terrible remake of The Prince of Bel-Air. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, and jeez, not one day into my return to YouTube, and already Hollywood is once again fresh out of ideas, even though they have so many talented people at their disposal, and must resort to the terrible old cliche they've been doing for decades now of rebooting a television classic. Typical Hollywood, am I right? And this time they had the brilliant idea of doing a dramatic reboot of the sitcom classic, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Really? I don't know what to say. I'm nearly speechless. I mean, just let that statement sink in your head. They are taking this beloved situational comedy series and turning it into a heavy drama. This just dawned on me. You know what this reminds me of? Do you guys remember that era in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where they were taking these classic fairy tales and making them dark and gritty? That's what this reminds me of. You're taking a very simple, cheeseball, lighthearted, but sometimes dramatic comedy series, and you're making it dark and gritty. You're basically like Christopher Nolanizing it in a way. The Fresh Prince of fucking Bel-Air as a serious drama piece? Man, get the fuck out of here. I was so damn curious as to how this all came about. So I did some digging around, some reading, some researching, and I discovered that this idea was inspired by a fan-made trailer released last year on YouTube made by a guy named Morgan Cooper called The Fresh Prince, which is basically just a highly dramatized version of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I watched it, and I gotta say, on a cinematography level, the video looks great. I love the cinematography, I love the camera work, I love the shots that they took, the places that they took them were beautiful. The one thing that didn't stand out to me, though, were the characters, as I found them all flat and boring, because they just felt like generic characters that you would find in any given black drama. It felt like that one Jamaican movie I saw about the runner. It felt like that. It felt like that Wu-Tang Clan series on Hulu. It felt like dope but not funny. It just felt generic. I gotta be honest. It felt generic. It looks pretty, but the execution, it's very been there, done that. So I wasn't impressed at all. But apparently Hollywood was, and was like, hey, we need to get with this guy, and kind of greenlit a Fresh Prince reboot done in this dramatic style. And then I found out later that Will Smith, the star of the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Quincy Jones, a producer on the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, are going to be coming to the show as executive producers, as well as the original creators of the show. They're going to be executive producers. That's like that Lord of the Rings series that they're trying to do on Amazon. That's like if you got Peter Jackson to be the executive producers, and then you hired Philippa Boyens and Fran Walsh as producer and writers, like the showrunners basically, to helm the show. Why would you do that? They worked on the original. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you bring back people that worked on the original to make this show? I would be totally fine if they just gave the keys to Morgan and say, go kid, do your own telling. I might be okay with that, even though I still think it's a bad idea. But to have those people attached to this project, why? All right, let me break down why I personally think that this is a terrible fucking idea. Number one, it's a goddamn reboot. You already lose points for your lack of originality, your lack of creativity. What? You couldn't think of your own story? You couldn't think of your own premise? You couldn't create your own characters? You have to steal somebody else's? Now, granted, I would have given this series a pass if it was just inspired by the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because at that point, it would only be used as inspiration to tell their own story. But that's not the case. And the only reason you're doing this, let's be honest, is the name brand recognition. People know about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. People love the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So you're dragging its very good name so that you can reuse it for your own benefit. But here's the problem. People who were fans of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air back in the day, they were fans of that original series and its concept. I don't think they're going to take lightly the fact that you're going to make it a drama. They're not going to find that appealing. The charm of the original show was its quirkiness, was its over-the-topness, the intrigue, the charisma, the fun of these characters. Now, it did get dramatic at some points, and I thought the drama was handled very well. I'll never forget that episode where Will and Carlton are pulled over by the cops, and Carlton has this realization about racism in America. That was a really poignant episode and was handled very well, but there was charm and comedy in that episode too. Or I'll never forget the episode where Will meets his father and then he abandons him again and he has that famous line. You know the famous line, "How come you don't want me, man?" The show did have its moments of drama, but the drama did not overtake the comedy. It didn't just become overly dramatic. The core of the show is comedy. The fans of that show loved the comedic aspect of the show. Well, they're not going to find that in this new show, so they're going to lose interest in it. And come to think of it, why even do a dramatic reboot? Nobody wants to see a dramatic reboot. They want to see the original characters. They want to see the original cast playing those characters. So why not just do a sequel a la Full House and Boy Meets World? What they did, Fuller House, Girl Meets World. Why don't we do like the Fresh Princess of Bel-Air, following the Fresh Prince's daughter, who's now growing up in Bel-Air, and her shenanigans, hanging out with her aunt Hillary, and they go shopping, seeing her goofy uncle Carlton, hanging out with her cool aunt Ashley, seeing her cool father, maybe even having a scene where they rap or they chill together. I would rather watch that show. I would rather watch a show of the second generation of Bel-Air kids, not a dark reimagining, a dramatic retelling of the Fresh Prince story. And I bet you most people will rather see a sequel instead of seeing a dark reboot. And that brings me to my second point. The concept of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air does not work as a realistic, heavy drama. The appeal of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, what made it work as a sitcom, what made it such a landmark show that appealed to everyone and that everybody could enjoy, was its lighthearted nature, its eccentric characters, and its excellent comedic writing. It paved the way for a lot of shows like it. Like the Jamie Foxx show would not exist had it not been for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Martin would not have existed without the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It opened doors up for a lot of black comedians and a lot of black TV shows to really skyrocket and get some notoriety. So a lot of the shows on UPN, that old channel that disappeared, a lot of those shows would never have existed had it not been for the phenomenal success of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It was a game changer. When I see the trailer for the Fresh Prince, which will later be turned into that drama reboot, I don't see anything original. I don't see anything fresh. I don't see anything that's really going to change the game here. All I see is a show that is heavily borrowing from its contemporaries. It's borrowing from the Tyler Perry book. It's borrowing from a lot of these black dramas that I see a lot of, whether it be television or movies. It just feels like a cookie cutter show that is just not original, not only for the fact that it's stealing these characters, but even in the way that it's executing the show. It's a been there, done that show. How many times are we going to see a young black youth who's nothing but trouble? He goes to a place where he learns to kind of grow. We've seen that story so many times and done way better. And not to mention, none of these characters in the trailer, as I mentioned before, really stand out. They just seem so generic and uninteresting. I don't care about these characters. They don't really pop out of the screen. The only thing that really made me go, wow, that was actually pretty interesting, is when Will or the Fresh Prince meets Jazz. That was the closest thing that I was like, you know what, that looks pretty cool. But you know what? It looks like it was ripped right out of the Wu-Tang Clan series. So again, no originality anywhere. And to reiterate it once more, fans of the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air are not going to want to see heavily and overly dramatized versions of their favorite characters that they grew up with and loved. No one wants to see an Uncle Phil that's just mostly a disciplinarian constantly scolding Will but has nothing funny or witty to say. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see an Aunt Vivian that's mostly crying and saying, Will, you gotta do better. I know you can do it, baby. You know you have the energy to do it. No one wants to see that. Nobody wants to see a butler that has no sarcasm, no wit to him whatsoever. He's just gonna basically be like a character that gives sage advice because he's the old wise man that's been taking care of the kids. Like, I've been around the woods, Sir William, and I'm telling you now, this is what you need to do to succeed. No, boring. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see a pompous Hillary that's just smug all the time and not funny. Maybe they might still make her clueless, but it's going to come off more of her being bitchy than just clueless and hilarious. They're going to make it more realistic. Nobody wants to see an arrogant Carlton that's just completely oblivious and not funny. Nobody wants to see an Ashley that's no fun. And lastly, nobody wants to see a Will Smith type character who's not charismatic, charming, and funny. He's just going to be a downer. No one wants to see that character. Not to mention, especially during these times, I have a really bad feeling that this show is going to be heavily politicized with Black Lives Matter, police shootings, racism, maybe a little bit of Me Too. And look, there's nothing wrong with these causes. There's nothing wrong about promoting these causes. I just don't think that you have to keep shoving these causes down everybody's throat in every single show. Now, that's not to say that TV shows can't address these things. But when every single show, especially shows and movies featuring black people, have to talk about these things, it almost seems as though black people in America just can't have fun. We always have to be fighting for a cause. You can fight for a cause, but I don't think that's all we need to do. I think, honestly, the best way for us to really thrive too is to support ourselves. We need to make sure to lift ourselves up from the problems of our world and not demand other people to lift us up. It's not their problem to fix our problem. We fix our own problems. Now, if we need to address these issues, yeah, using medium like television and movies, that's fine. But again, when you're doing it constantly, it just gets annoying, and people don't always want to see that in their TV shows. Not only that, I'm gonna find it really fucking rich to see a bunch of rich fucking black people preach down to me, a middle-class black Filipino guy, about hashtag the struggle. Man, get fucking real. You're living in fucking Bel-Air. I don't want to hear from you. And in addressing the characters, that brings me to my third and final reason as to why this is a terrible fucking idea. And that's the fact that Will Smith is not coming back as the Fresh Prince himself. The heart of that series, the reason why it worked so well and why people adore it to this day, is because of Will Smith's portrayal as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Hell, the show was named after his persona as a rapper, the Fresh Prince. He went to Bel-Air. And you know what? The moment that Will Smith showed up on screen, he stole the show right there. He was magnanimous. His charm and charisma were infectious. And I'm sorry, you can't replace that. You can't replace Will Smith, and you can't find someone that can carry the mantle of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. There's only one Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Just one. And that's Will fucking Smith. There will be no other. There will never be another Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as good as he was. You can try. It's never going to happen. And this new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I've said it already, but he just comes off as the generic main character of a black drama. You know, this troubled kid that needs to learn the errors of his ways and become better. Like, I've seen that story dozens of times, done better. I don't care to follow that story. What I cared about is following this ambitious little scoundrel who goes to a new place that is totally different from what he was living and just starts, embracing it all. And kind of taking this family with a stick up its ass and showing them how to live their life. That's more interesting to me. Not this kid from a rough neighborhood that needs to get his act together, and so he goes to his well-off family to learn to be a responsible young man. It's boring. Nobody cares to follow that version of the Fresh Prince. I guarantee it. Nobody's going to care about that character. Nobody's going to remember that version of the Fresh Prince. They will always remember Will Smith. And that's the thing. If you can't get the Fresh Prince right, you might as well not even do the show. He's supposed to be the heart of the show. If the heart of the show is not beating correctly, your show will have a cardiac arrest and it will fall flat on its face and die. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the whole story of a dramatic reboot to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Not a fan, and I'm not going to see it. But I'm sure maybe some of you out there, you might actually find it to be an interesting idea. Maybe it's a reboot that you could get behind, something that really resonates with you. So I would like to know what you guys think about this news story. Do you think that it's a great idea to do a dramatic retelling of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Or are you like me and you think it's completely fucking stupid and you shouldn't touch it? Just leave it alone. There's no point to it. Comment below. Let me know. 2 videos in a row. I'm proud of myself. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. More videos will be coming. And if you'd like to see more videos on this channel, be sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video, hit that bell notification so you're updated whenever I release a new video. Share this video with all your friends. I'm trying to reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Hopefully I can make it. Just tell your friends about me. I'm a guy that rambles a lot and rants and review things. So please spread the word about this awesome guy known as the Black Critic Guy. And until the next video, guys, I'll see you around.